Environmental pollution is not just an unavoidable repercussion of the age-old agricultural, commercial, and industrial practices which we have been following. The environment by itself is one of the most precious commodities on Earth, with potential to help us become a brighter race. Global warming and extinction of species are just some of the man-made disasters that may be halting this process. Here are 2 things you can do today to greatly increase the quality of the environment. Part 1. Reducing your food waste by planning what you eat. It's not always easy to reduce your food waste. But there are a few tips and tricks you can use to help make it easier. In this article, we'll explore how to plan what you eat, grocery shopping, and proper food storage to help reduce food waste. For starters, it is important to plan what you eat. This includes buying the right amount of food, being aware of expiration dates, and not letting your fridge get too full. Next up is grocery shopping. Make sure to buy only what you need with a list in hand and shop in bulk when possible, avoiding unnecessary packaging on the shelves that can be thrown away before leaving the store. And finally, make sure your fridge doesn't overflow with food. Planning what you eat. First, it's important to understand that not all foods spoil at the same rate. Some foods will spoil faster than others and will need to be eaten first. And other foods will spoil slower than others and can be added to the compost pile later. Discard or avoid. If a food is discolored, smells bad, or has mold on it, throw it out. However, if you need to discard food that looks good and smells fine for safety reasons, for example, a raw chicken that's been washed, make sure to use safe food handling practices and follow the instructions of your local sewage treatment plant. Some plants may. Grocery shopping. Next, you will want to plan your grocery list around what's on sale or in season so that you are buying the freshest produce available at the best price possible. Food storage. You will want to stock up on your favorite meals that can be prepped ahead and frozen for future use. Make sure you buy dry goods such as beans, rice, and pasta in bulk. Frozen foods. Lastly, consider stocking up on frozen foods that don't require any dishes to prepare them. Just pop them into your oven or microwave when you're ready to enjoy. Proper food storage. Lastly, it's important that you store your food properly so that it doesn't go bad before it's time. It's important that you store your food properly so that it doesn't go bad before it's time. Tips for proper food storage. Buy in bulk. Buying in bulk can save you a lot of money and make it easier to portion out your food into smaller, more manageable sizes. Add an ice pack or 2 to each item of produce before storing it in the refrigerator to keep it fresh and safe from bacteria. Eat the oldest food first to get rid of any bad smells before putting it in the fridge or freezer. Defrost meat wrapped in a paper towel before cooking, so that bacteria won't drip onto other food. Store foods with similar ingredients, like milk and eggs, together in the same place. Stick to your food storage plan. Don't go off of it when your hungry. Snacks are more important than meals. You can eat a snack instead of skipping lunch. How I currently reduce my food waste. The experiential method. I am a big believer in meal planning, and I think it's one of the most important ways to reduce your food waste. Before I get into how I do my meal planning, let me tell you a little bit about the experiential method that I use. The experiential method is based on a 4-step process: savor, create, prep, and plate. The first step is to savor the meal ahead of time to get a taste for what's coming up next. Next comes the step of creating the meal by cooking or doing other prep work for it. This can be as simple as chopping vegetables or opening a jar of soy sauce or making bread dough from scratch. Finally, when you're ready to. The experiential method is a way of reducing food waste that is based on the idea that if you have an experience with something, you will be less likely to waste it. For example, if you eat a vegetable and find out that it tastes bad, then you are less likely to buy it again or cook with it. This is because humans are creatures of habit, and we tend to avoid anything we don't like or aren't familiar with. The idea of experience-based methods stems from the behavioral theory, which suggests that people's behavior is in part determined by their past experiences. This is why people typically behave in certain ways after an event or experience, like eating a food they don't enjoy or experiencing a new smell/taste. Experiential methods can be used for a variety of things relating to food and waste, including reducing food waste on grocery store shelves, helping people stop buying foods they don't. The experiential method can be applied in many different ways when trying to reduce your food waste. One way is by cooking more than one thing so that you have leftovers for later in the week or month. Another way is by buying smaller amounts of groceries throughout the week so that you do not have a surplus of food in your fridge. The experiential method can be applied in many different ways when trying to reduce your food waste. One way is by cooking more than one thing so that you have leftovers for later in the week or month. Another way is by buying smaller amounts of groceries throughout the week so that you do not have a surplus of food in your fridge. Part 2. How to reduce plastic trash consumption and rely less on single-use items. Plastic is a material that has become so common in our day-to-day lives that we often don't think twice about it. Plastic is a material that has become so common in our day-to-day lives that we often don't think twice about it. However, the environmental impacts of plastic are undeniable and the negative effects on human health are only just being discovered. What can be done to reduce the amount of plastic we consume? The answer may seem simple: stop using single-use items as much as possible and start relying less on plastic containers, straws, and utensils. The first step to reducing your consumption of single-use items is to make sure you have reusable containers for food storage. There are many different types of containers, some with lids, others without, but they all have the same goal: to reduce or eliminate your use of disposable containers. You can find these at grocery stores or online at various retailers like Amazon or Target. The next step is to try to reduce the number of single-use items you buy. This includes buying bulk quantities at stores like Costco, Trader Joe's, and Whole Foods, as well as refilling your reusable containers with food when they're empty. Finally, it's important that you don't forget about the trash that results from these types of actions. So make sure you have a recycling bin or bag nearby where you can collect recyclables generated by your consumption of. How to reduce your use of garbage bags in your home. Garbage bags are a waste of material resources and energy. The production of plastic garbage bags is a resource-intensive process, in which natural gas, coal, and oil are used to produce the raw materials for the plastic. The production of plastic garbage bags also consumes about 12 million barrels, 2.1 billion liters, of oil annually. The average American household uses about 13 pounds, 5.9 kilograms, of garbage bags per year, which amounts to more than 1 billion pounds, 453 million kilograms, in total across the country each year. This figure does not include the weight of all other types of trash bags that are used for other purposes such as pet waste or clothes storage. This article will give you some tips on how to reduce your use of garbage bags in your home and what alternatives you can use instead. Use reusable grocery bags when shopping. The use of reusable grocery bags is a great way to minimize the amount of plastic that is being used. If we all start using reusable bags instead of plastic ones, we can reduce the amount of litter that ends up in our oceans and landfills. Support local businesses. There is a lot of litter in the ocean and landfills because of disposable soft plastic, but there are also many smaller pieces. These small pieces can be picked up with a net and then sold to local businesses that need them. By supporting these small businesses, we are able to keep our ocean and landfills clean while still offering support to local communities. Compost as much as possible. The most important thing we can do for our environment is composting is the best way to make sure that food waste doesn't end up in a landfill. Composting is recycling for your garden. Food waste can be turned into compost, which in turn makes soil richer and helps plants grow better. Plus, compost doesn't take any energy or water to produce, unlike oil-based fertilizers. Eat locally grown produce. The average person in the United States eats at least 1 pound of food a day. What with our nation's vast distances and limited transportation options, it is difficult for many people to get all of their food from their own backyard. Instead, Americans rely on the grocery store. Local farmers use environmentally friendly growing practices and sell fresh, high-quality food that is often more affordable than the supermarket fare. Use a large container with a lid for storing leftovers. It is important to store leftovers in a container with a lid so that air does not get in and the food does not dry out. For example, if you were to put leftover rice in a bowl, the rice will dry out because it is exposed to air. By storing leftovers in a container with a lid, you are preserving the food and preventing it from drying out.